Welcome to Childcare Conversations, the podcast where early childhood leaders like you get real-world strategies, honest talk, and a whole lot of support. Whether you're running one center or many, we're here to help you lead with confidence and clarity. This episode is brought to you by our summer partner, Childcare Business Growth, your go-to solution for filling spots, increasing revenue, and scaling your childcare business without the burnout. We're proud to partner with a team that's as committed to your success as we are. Learn more at childcarebusinessgrowth.com. Now, let's get into today's conversation, one we think you're really going to love.
Welcome back. Today's episode has two guests, not just one, but two guests, and they are coming from Florida and from Indiana, and they are with Imagination Station Learning Center. And Jessica and Katie, we are so excited to have you guys on the podcast. They have recently started their own podcast, Childcare Confidential, but we actually met this summer at Childcare Business Growth Live in Miami. Jessica, Katie, tell me a little bit about how you guys found Childcare Business Growth, its impact on your program, and we got more stuff to talk about after that.
Oh yeah, sure we do. Lots. So childcare business growth kind of came to me when I was looking into different owner conferences. I have been doing this for a pretty long time. So when I started, there was nothing out there for owners. There was no help. There were no real resources. You were kind of out on your own, figuring it all out. And after a little bit, some places started with some ownership conferences, but they seemed kind of sales pitchy. And so that really just threw me off because that's just not my personality. Um, and so then I found Nick, and he had so much more to offer with the social media and how they have this done for you. So they work with us on our social media content and videos and different things too. So then I felt like I was spending the money for resources that were really going to benefit our schools. And so we've been with them, I think about 2 years now. It's been a minute. We love
All
them.
right, so I'm going to talk about ROI. Katie, can you help me with that? What is some of the, you don't have to give me real numbers, but can you give me an example of how you would absolutely say, because of this partnership, you've brought in X number of families, or you've done some reputation repair if that's an issue?
Okay. But Kate used one of those phrases that she did not define her terms. So ROI, for those of you who are like, what is ROI? Roy, what is ROI? Is return on investment, because with childcare business growth, they are going to ask you to invest something. They're going to ask you to spend a little bit of money. And so we're trying to find out what was the return on that money that we invested. So Katie, take it away now that I have slapped Kate's hand.
Kind of enjoyed it. That was fun. Yeah. So the biggest piece, obviously there's so many good things to say and so many good pieces that they can and will do for you. But the biggest for us, I swear, is the social media resources that they gave us. I hate videos with a passion. It's not my strong suit. It's not something I enjoy doing. They force you to do it because it works. They encourage, they give you the steps, the path, you just do it. And now we've got TikTok, Facebook. Our parents tell me how fun it is and they want to be in them now. I would have never done that if I didn't have someone who was like, just take the step, just try it. And here we are.
So how many families can you contribute directly to those social media types of posts? Do you have it could be a rough estimate. I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire, but
I don't think we really do have an estimate. We've been using them for so long now that I don't think I have it really broken down anymore. I can definitely say though, maybe not really an estimate, but we had went through some difficult times. It was actually just after we had started with CBG. And so we were able to talk with them about it. And I remember going to a conference. It was January a few years back, and I was not going to go. I was going to bail. I signed up, I was going, and then I was going to bail because something had happened at one of the schools. And I was like, I can't do this right now. And my director kind of pushed me out the door and said, "Hey, you need to go." And so I went and I sat at a round table with a bunch of directors and I spilled everything that was going on. And there was no judgment. That was the biggest thing for me because when you're talking to other owners in your area, there's that competitiveness, that judgment, that constantly having to be like, oh, I'm so much better than I really am. All of that was put aside at this round table. Like everybody was supportive and they were like, we're thinking about you. And even after I went home, those people followed up with me. Nick sent me flowers, from CBG. Like it was more the community aspect for me because I was really struggling. And this kind of caused this spiral for me to struggle for the next year. And it took a toll on um, our charisma or whatever at the school too, because how can you be positive when you're drained, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that for me was more than anything else, like
Well, so I
them
love that.
staying
So
there.
you got some real personal, tangible components. Yes, you probably got families to come in. Now you've got families who want to engage in your social media, be a part of it. I love that story, Katie. That's great. So now I'm going to have us flip hats because part of the reason I'm sure that you have started your podcast is that this was something that was talked about in July at CBG Live July 2025 in Miami. There was a whole discussion about starting podcasts. Had you ever thought that you would be doing this before July of 2025? Had that ever entered your mind?
No. No.
I was
Katie,
like,
you
thank
want
you,
to
because I'm
go?
like, you're nodding your head. I don't want to point out that we are pretty much an audio, like we do have videos,
No.
but
Right. For me, I had actually started writing a book, kind of a tell-all with my professional career because I had a whole lot to say after I had went through this situation. And I really wanted to throw out some names and throw some people under the bus. And I still
I'm
own
here
a
for it. I buy
school,
it.
so
What's
that
the
probably
advance
wasn't the
copy?
best
No,
choice.
bad.
It's very close to done. So that's kind of part of this too, is we were already feeling all these things. And it was like we're writing, and it's therapeutic, but how do we get this out there? How do we help the directors coming up that are younger than us, that are fresh, that aren't, raked through the coals yet? How do we help them stay positive and have that energy? So a lot of that was we can do that confidentiality without name dropping, Jess.
I
She's
love
been
that.
really
I
bad
love
about
that.
she's bad about the non-name dropping though. We haven't mastered that yet.
No, there's a lot of editing so far.
Well, Carrie and I give them similar names, and most of ours are, it's now the advantage of it being a long time is that we also know that a fair number of those folks are not even in the industry anymore, but we still give them fake names. And we've now told the stories often enough in our books and in our workshops that we tell the stories. We just give people new names. And so,
I think one of them has the name Jessica, and I will just tell you that the Jessica in the book is not this Jessica.
Oh,
Okay,
thank God.
it's a totally different person. It's a totally different. But I don't even remember people's real names anymore. We have changed their names so many times. I don't even. There's one person who I definitely still know her real name, but most of them, I'm like, wait, let's see. I fired you for lack of confidentiality, and your go-to for your next job is to go work for the IRS, and you're going to send me
Mhm.
a request for written
recommendation.
recommendation, waiving your right to any privacy and confidentiality. You not getting that job, honey.
Oh my goodness. No, no.
I don't want somebody who can't keep things confidential working at the IRS. But other than her, I've forgotten most of their real names because we've changed their names so many times.
Oh no, I know that there's at least two people, but we won't go there because it's not our episode. This is about Katie and Jessica. So now I know Jessica mentioned something about finishing a book. Katie, I think you've already done this. So tell us a little bit about your adventure into publishing.
Sure. This actually goes back hand in hand with Jess and I's really weird, non-conventional plan of action, I guess. We started out as friends, met up, all the things, and then one day I accidentally let it slip and said that I wanted to write a children's book. I've literally had it in my notes on my phone for like 2 years, I think, and I always just thought it was a passion project. It'd be there one day. And she surprised me and helped me do all of the things, go through all the inputs, and now I have written my first children's book. Hopefully there will be more, but we shall see. But this one's all about autism awareness and just kind of spreading that in the community. It's something that we're super passionate about. Inclusion's always been a huge piece for me and Jess. So it's been really cool to just put that into the hands of tiny humans in our community and our schools, and the feedback's been awesome.
Awesome. So do you use that in your marketing? Is it something, does the purple elephant make his way into your social media? Is it something that you guys host book readings at the library, anything like that?
It's something that we're working towards for sure. I feel like this was a starting point. We did the very first piece of what we wanted to. And now where we take it from here is there's so much ahead of us. We just haven't gotten there yet. So I hope so, I guess would be my answer.
I totally get that. Time to get those maps out and figure out what's the destination, what's the goal, what's the use. Absolutely. Well, I'm excited because we have talked about a couple of the things that were on my to-do list, but Carrie, when they jumped in, they started whispering about spreadsheets. Do you want to talk a little bit about their spreadsheets?
Okay, so Indiana has had some changes to the subsidy program, I understand. And you know, a lot of states have had some changes in their subsidy programs. The whole country of Canada has had changes in their subsidy programs, right? So, what has changed and how is that affecting you guys as Jessica as the owner and Katie as the ED? And how's it affecting your families?
Yeah, this is a tough conversation right now in Indiana. We're definitely talking about it a little bit on our podcast, and we're getting more and more details today. We were kind of whispering about spreadsheets because we're going through each family that we have that uses this program to kind of see what they're going to end up paying and how we can help and what we can do. And it's hard when you put a name to the problem, you know, because you
Yeah.
care for all of your families. But in the end, there's only so much you can do too. Katie, do you want to talk a little bit more about like what the cuts are looking like?
Well, I was
And I
thinking
can't,
even some percentages.
Yeah.
How many families in your two locations, just a percentage wise, what's the percentage of families on the subsidy program?
Jess really loves it because my favorite thing about my job is my numbers. So we're at 83% subsidy at one of our locations, and we're a whopping 72% at our other. The biggest change that has absolutely rocked our world, it's not even the tiny, tiny humans. It's like the main group, the preschoolers through the school age kiddos. Those are the ones that are getting hit the most. That's the negative red that I was talking about in my spreadsheets. Nobody likes the red. That's why I highlighted them that color.
So talk to me. What's happening to your preschoolers and your school agers?
Woo. So most of our families didn't, they may have had a copay, but their copay was like $20 roughly, I would say on average. It's now jumping up to where they're going to be like $40, $50, $60 between their overage and their copay, which is ridiculous because they were already paying money that they didn't really have to pay. They were making it work. And I'm not saying that everybody should get free childcare all the time, but there really are truly families out there that need this. And we're basically telling them that they don't. And that's crazy.
So is that $78 a week or $78 a month?
Oh no, that's a week.
It's a week.
That's a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's basically, from what I'm seeing, most people's cut, it's 68% difference on what the state is going to pay from today to October 5th. It's all going to start October 5th. So they gave us less than a month to handle this situation with schools that are 72 and 83% subsidy based. It's a joke.
What do you
insane.
anticipate happening? How are your parents responding? What do you think is going to happen? And Katie, maybe you want to answer this because Jessica's looking a little pale.
She is. However, I have to throw Jess under the bus just a little bit. Don't make that face at me either. I'm so sorry, Jess. But she gives me 100% the ability to go out and find solutions to these problems that we're facing. So we're currently looking at some of our really great organizations that are local to see if they'll do sponsorships for families that truly just can't afford it. We're trying to go for some corporate locations to see if they'll partner with us, so at least it's a discount. We're really trying so it's not such a heavy hit. But they told us on Friday of last week at like 6 p.m. that this was happening on October 5th. So there's not a whole lot of time. So it's a lot.
So
Yeah.
really just 3 weeks. That's not even a whole month, right? So if I'm
No.
mathing that right, that's closer to 3 weeks than a month.
Yeah.
Um,
So we're trying to think outside of the box to come up with ideas to help the families. That's not just us having to shoulder the cost because that's not realistic either. We have staff to pay. We don't want to take our quality down because of the state's mishap on their budget side. Like that's not our problem. We don't want that to affect what we do. But
So I'm going to
unfortunately,
ask the really hard question.
mhm.
If say in the center that it's more than 70, well, I guess both of them are more than 70%. So if half of those families cannot find a way to pay those subsidies, so you lose 35% of your families, how many staff are you going to have to lay off?
Um, Most people will have to lay off their staff. We saved money from our COVID stuff and we're hoping to fight through it all. We did it through COVID. Our staff, they got paid 40 hours whether they worked or not. And we're hoping we're going to get through it the same way again. And we're just really big on integrity and doing the best we can and keep pushing forward. I mean, it would take a minute for it to really affect us to the point where I was like, I can't throw in any more money. Like, but
Okay.
we can get us through.
okay, wait. Does that mean like you have a savings account?
Yeah.
What? Okay. So for those who are listening, you've heard us at least not, if not, go back and listen to the episodes where we've talked about having those rainy day funds and how, a lot of folks had those rainy day funds. They disappeared during COVID. It sounds like you've done a great job in the last 5 years making sure that you've got that again. I applaud you, and I hope that anybody who's listening who doesn't have one takes this hint and takes this, this is how you keep your families, this is how you keep your staff. Now, I have a question because every state handles the subsidies differently. You mentioned that some of your families had copays or something like that. What percentage of your listed advertised tuition did the state pay? So if you were $200 a week, did the state pay 200 a week or what did the state pay?
Originally, they paid basically all of it. I think we had a handful of families that had overages, but or had copays, but we didn't really have any families that had overages
Okay.
before.
All right. So
We
so
base
that's
our
so that's
rates.
slightly different than some other states. So like in Texas, they don't pay the published rate. But you also don't get to ask for a copay. So you as an
Well,
owner just kind
the
of
parent may have an assigned copay by the state, but in Texas, what the state pays between the subsidy and what the parent pays, that is all you can collect. So in Texas, you can't do the overages like you can in Indiana and in some other states. And like in some provinces in Canada, the state pays everything over 16 or $18 a day. So that's their copay is 16 or $18 a day. And the state pays the rest, but they have a cap on how many people they will pay for. So
Mm.
even if you wanted to open another center and there were children for another center, if the province doesn't have money for more childcare, you can't build another childcare center.
they also look at how much profit you're making. And not every state. So we've all seen, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people have seen the news about New Mexico and what New Mexico's doing. There's a lot of details that people don't know about that. But New Mexico has actually always, their subsidies always been higher than what most people had as published rates.
Or
So
at least for the past few years.
yeah, because of
Yeah.
the way they've
So we
set up
had
their,
always, so
yeah.
sorry. We had
No,
always based our rates off of what the state would pay
okay.
because if the state was going to pay that much, we did not want to leave money on the table. And we had to charge at the time, they've let us go this last time because they kind of did an oops, and you know how they like to cover themselves. But at the time, if you charged cash pay parents anything different than state pay parents, you were discriminating. And so we always based it on, well, what money are you putting out on the table? That's what we're going to collect. Like, we're not going to leave money on the
Oh
table
yeah, no,
for
the state
school.
of Texas, it's always been like 80%. It didn't matter what your published rate was.
Okay.
So
They would only pay 80% of what the market rate in that county was. So
But then you
your
couldn't
center
charge the
could be
parent.
charging exactly what the state would pay. But if everybody in the county was charging exactly what the state would pay, then they would pay you 80% of that.
How is that fair?
well,
Uh,
exactly. So
Don't get me
that's
going.
yep. So that's where we talk about like every state's different, right? And everybody's got their headaches and their stories. And, Missouri, some of the folks in Missouri were going, 9, 10 months without getting their subsidy checks. Oklahoma bankrupted their folks because, apparently having a budget sticking to a budget really wasn't something the state needed to do. I'm not going there. But here's something that I'd love for you guys to do the math on, because I think it's something that you guys might want to bring to your Chamber of Commerce, and that's something that we talk to a lot of our directors about, and owners. If you find that you've got families who are leaving, and now they've got somebody staying at home, okay, so let's just say of those 35 mystery families that Carrie just talked about, of those 35, you've got 35 that are now one of them's going to stay home and be the child care worker. Okay, so that's assuming you had two income families. You need to be able to go to your Chamber of Commerce and make sure that you can confidently say, not only do we have 35 people not in the workforce now in our community because of this, this is the financial impact. So how much money did those 35 people make? Are they $30,000 a year people? Are they $40,000 a year people? And bring that number to your workforce development board, because that's how much money is now not in your community as part of workforce development.
And Chamber of Commerce's have a big say in what, like, they have a loud voice when it comes to advocacy at the state for your next year's budget. So if the Chamber of Commerce's all know what the financial impact of this reduction in support for the child care subsidy program has meant, and you're like, okay, in this town it's this much, in this town it's this much, and so averaging across the state, this is how much money the state is not having access to because of this short-sighted decision on child care subsidy.
Yep,
So-
absolutely.
So
We are sharing some of those numbers in the podcast we had just recorded.
For example, how many
Yeah,
families
it's
do you guys
crazy.
have total right now, Jessica?
How many families do we have total?
Yep.
Katie.
Katie,
Okay,
how
it's
many?
a Katie question, not a Jessica question.
Jess knows all the things too. Don't let her fool you.
Jess
I
has
just
been
bombard her with too
podcast
much.
focused for a
I just
minute.
bombard her with too much information. No. So family wise, most of our families have multiple kiddos. So I would say like 160-ish families.
Okay, and of those 160 families, how many of them are single household families?
What do you mean single household? You mean
Single parent
household?
Sorry, single parent families.
I'd say a little under half.
Have to
Uh-oh,
look at
Kate's
the
doing
report,
math
but-
while we're on the pod, guys.
I
I know, that's a
am doing
guesstimate.
math. Okay, so you have 240 parents. How many staff do you guys have?
49. If you count Jess. She's
Jess,
supposed to go at the top of the
you-
pyramid.
Jess,
but-
do you make any money?
Sometimes.
To be determined.
Not
I got
all the
that.
time.
All right. So, what do you think the average salary of the families that are in your program earn?
Oof, that's a good question.
I would say we're part of the federal food program, so I get
Okay.
to collect that information
Yep.
in order to, qualify. And they're like roughly $30,000 to $40,000, roughly, I would say, on average.
Okay. So we're gonna do 35, Kate.
That's what I did.
Okay.
All right. So here's just to give you an idea. These are the numbers that people are going to kind of pay attention to. Your child care center, your parents, and your staff are responsible for $10 million worth of revenue in your communities.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
How do you
now
think
take
that
out,
conversation at the Chamber of Commerce would go if you say we are a $10 million impact on our economy, and this has cut a third of that out. So a third of 10, like how do you think that's going to affect our community at the Chamber of Commerce if
because
$10
it's
million has gone down to $7 million? What is that effect going to be on the community? All of a sudden, that Chamber of Commerce is like calling up their lobbyist and going, "What the frickle frack, guys? We can't be doing this."
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
these are the numbers that we need to learn as childcare to speak into the community. Now, some people say that every dollar that a family brings in is actually $7 worth of spending. So then you have an actual economic impact of $70 million in your communities where your schools are. And what that means is they're not going to be buying as much food, right? They're not going to be eating out as much. They may not buy local, right? They may only be buying at Dollar General versus maybe the local grocery store. So,
And all they're doing is buying what they're getting on their WIC and their food stamps because they're not having that income. Oh, wait, how much is the WIC and the food stamps expenditure going to go up because all these families are no longer earning enough money to no longer qualify for WIC and food stamps? Oh, nobody. Anyway, sorry, we are on
Absolutely.
an advocacy high horse right now.
Yes. We're
We need
there with
more people.
you. Crazy.
so taking that into consideration, what would be something that either one of you would want to make sure that you're telling directors who are listening to this podcast anywhere in the country, well, anywhere in the globe, because we actually have something like 22 countries or something. But if somebody's listening to this episode and they're thinking, well, that doesn't seem right, like that doesn't seem fair. Why in 3 weeks do your families now have to pay, you know, 30% of their child care expense where they didn't pay it before, and you're going to lose families and the whole economic impact, other than have a savings account? And maybe Katie might say, and a spreadsheet. What
Yeah,
else,
she
what
would.
else might you suggest to folks who know that this is coming? How could they get prepared? What are some things that maybe they need to think about?
Jess, you want me to go?
I was waiting for you.
Okay, all right, I got you, buddy. All right, my favorite thing that comes out of Jess's mouth, we have this back and forth, I swear, every single time that we talk, is it's okay to not be the yes man. If you see something that's an injustice, it doesn't make sense, and it's not doing what it needs to for your community, it's okay to say no, and it's okay to find solutions to fix what you think is not okay or what you wouldn't allow. So that's something that we hold true, and why I feel like we go out of our way. I feel like you guys are going to get me in trouble because I actually have a chambers meeting tomorrow.
Well,
But
if you need to run those numbers, just give me a call.
We may have an agenda.
I was going to say, whew,
I mean, I don't think it's getting you in trouble at the chamber meeting. I think it is saying, hey guys, there's something that is going to impact all of your ability to get and keep employees, and you may not know about it. And I shouldn't have kept it secret from you for the past month. And so by saying, I'm sorry that I kept it a secret, then people are like, what is it? I want to know the secret.
Right.
And then you have the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
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 And Katie, I would also, I don't know what you guys, who you normally take to chamber meetings with you, but if you've got any parent advocates, in other words, raving fan parents, sometimes getting those raving fan parents to tell the story on your behalf is way better than you doing it.
Mhm.
So
So
if
that's a
you've
really
got
good
a
point.
parent who can put sentences together in an incredibly powerful way that is gone from paying $20 a month to $70 a week, bring them with you.
We have a lot of those.
Absolutely.
We
yeah,
have a
and
lot
so
of those.
and
Yeah,
those
we got some
and
of
those are
those.
who you want. You want them to be vocal. You want the this is where you get the media involved and you get some press releases, and it's not about your voice. It's about what you're trying to do, right? It's why you're trying to get the chamber to sponsor some of these spots, why you're trying to get some of the corporations to sponsor these spots. I mean, think about, I mean, I'm just going to use McDonald's franchisees as an example. McDonald's franchisees are businesses, right? And if all of a sudden the franchisee in your community can't stay staffed because their employees now have to pay $78 a week. I mean, $78 a week, if you work at McDonald's, that's a full day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not a full-time employee, you have to ask yourself, can I really afford this? And so this is where getting those bigger companies that may or may not come to a franchise or a chamber of commerce meeting, depending on the community size and their perception of the chamber of commerce. This is where you go knock on the HR door. And you go, hey, are you guys having a hard time hiring and retaining staff? In case you didn't know. So, but I do love it. I
Good idea.
love that injustice piece. I love the go out and try to solve it yourself, and don't afraid to tell people. I love that. Jess, what would you tell somebody who's listening to this podcast? It's an owner. They're a little overwhelmed. They've got a Katie, and the Katie showed up with their spreadsheets, and they're looking at all the red, and they're a little like, they don't have a savings account.
Yeah.
And they're starting to hyperventilate. And what are you going to say to them?
I would start with save whatever you can whenever you can. However, just breathe and don't overpromise and underdeliver. I think that's the biggest thing. Be honest with your people where you're at. It's better if you're in a situation where you may have to close your doors. And I know at least 21 owners that I've talked to in Indiana are facing that right now. But if you're in this situation, it's better that you just are open and honest and you have that conversation, because it's respecting your people too, letting them know where they're at. They might have to go find another job. It's not fair to keep that from them if they need to. So don't overpromise and underdeliver. I saw a lot of that with wages when we got all those COVID funds, and now you see all those wages coming on back and people being laid off. So it's not good stuff when you do that.
Okay, I'm going to say, Jess, you need to be going into that template we gave you for the press release, and you need to be writing a press release.
That's a good idea.
And you need to share it with those 21 other owners.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about the math we just did. If even if they're just running a third of the number of families you're running,
Yeah,
right? That means that they've all got that $3 million impact. And most child care centers do not understand that particular component of math. Even if they know that their revenue is $1 million, which a lot of them go, oh, I'm a small program, I've only got 50 kids. Well, 50 kids in most states is still $1 million a year annual revenue, which is a lot for a small business.
Yep.
They definitely probably don't have a clue that out of their 47 families, they've got 90 people working in the community plus their 20 staff. So there's 110 $30,000 a year employees that are all of a sudden not going to have payroll or a job. So
exactly.
I think we have definitely gone over our expected 20 minutes. I didn't turn over the clock, so I don't know how far over, but I want to give the listener their time back. And I want to make sure that if you enjoyed this conversation, you go to your podcast player of choice and you go look for Childcare Confidential. And that way you'll get to hear some more of Jessica and Katie. And definitely share this show with someone else who needs to know. Anybody you know in Indiana, you need to share this show with them. But anybody who is an owner who is thinking about retiring to or moving to another state, they should listen to this show, because Jessica was able to do that with the help of CBG and with Katie. And guys, if you have impactful information like this to share, you need to come on this episode, the next episode. Okay. So we will talk to you in a few days, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks for tuning in. We love bringing you real talk and fresh insight from the world of early childhood education. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all of the latest episodes. And if you're planning a conference, training, or special event, Kate and Carrie would love to speak to your audience. You can learn more about their keynote sessions and workshops at kateandcarrie.com. If you learned something today, share the show and leave us a review below. We'll see you next time on Childcare Conversations.